Hey everyone, this is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy 4th of July. If you're celebrating today in the United States, you're doing something fun with family or not, either way. We are going to be taking a look at Uranus's entrance into Gemini, which has been a big theme for us this week. In general, a major outer planetary shift yet again. 2025 really is the year for all of these outer planetary shifts. And I'm really excited to have my friend and colleague Toad with me today, who is a visionary artist, astrologer, and really, I think, a very masterful tarot practitioner. And I'm going to tell you more about her and how you can follow her work. And she's going to do horoscopes for us today, but rather than looking at the horoscope through an astrological lens, she's going to work her tarot magic. As you guys know on my channel, all forms of divination are friends of this show, and she's really talented. So I'm very excited to have her here today to look at your horoscopes. We'll be going whole sign house at a time through all 12. She's going to be doing some card pulls and giving you her thoughts on what to expect with Uranus into Gemini. So that is our agenda for today. Before we get into it, as always, remember to like and subscribe, share your comments and reflections. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on the website, of course, which is nightlightastrology.com. I am going to take you over there right now for one simple promotion that I have today. And I'll tell you more later about how you can get in touch with our guest. You go over to nightlightastrology.com, go to the events page, click on live talks. You'll see that July 10th, next Thursday night, I think that is, I'm giving a talk on the 9th house, the temple of the sun god, enlightenment, and good karma. It's a really interesting backstory from the Indian perspective on the 9th house that we're going to be looking at in relation to the cultivation of a soul's good karma. A fascinating angle in the 9th house that maybe a lot of people probably aren't familiar with. So that'll be one fun element of that talk. But anyway, you can register there if you can't attend live. You get the replay later. All right. So on that note, I am really excited to have my friend Toad back. She's been on the show before. It's been a while since she's been here, but I'm really glad to welcome her back. Hey, Toad.
Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. I feel like I want to give people who haven't met you before just like a little bit of background before we get into some horoscopes.
Sure.
So we went to the Redwoods as a family a couple of years ago, and we were in this like little cafe, and the artwork on the wall was like so astrological and so beautiful and visionary. It reminded me of like a little bit of an astrological Alex Gray vibe I was getting. I was like, I've seen this before. I know this artwork. It turns out that I followed you on social media as an astrologer, tarot card reader, and visionary artist. At least that's what I would call what you are. But and so I was like, oh my gosh, I know this person. So we ended up getting in touch with you, and Ashley and me, my two girls, went to your art studio. And what's the name of the little town that you live in again?
Arcata, California.
Arcata. I don't know if it's little, but
it's pretty little.
It's like quaint. It's like really cute. So,
it's really random. Yeah.
Where were we staying? I'm trying to remember the name of the town we were in.
You guys were up in Trinidad, which is even smaller. We're in the middle of literally called the Lost Coast where we are. And the fact that you had been part of my life and my studies for years and that you found me, it was pretty magical.
Yeah, it was wild. So we ended up going, and my girls still tell stories about how they're both little artists in the making, I think. And they were just really inspired to see your artwork in your studio. I want to show people really quick. You can kind of see these are on the wall in another part of my office that you can't see off camera. And I took them off the wall in that space. So these are beautiful sun, moon, kind of set in the redwoods. And man, this is just scratching the surface of some of the amazing artwork that Toad has done.
Sorry, that's my medical alert stuff. Just so you know, it might go off every once in a while. But,
no, you're fine. If you want to check out Toad's work, just before we even get into it, on Instagram, you can follow Toad as you're hearing her talk about your horoscopes today. Art by Toad, by Toad, sorry. And then artbytoad.com. She's also got a Patreon, patreon.com/artbytoad. So those are the ways you can follow
It's
her.
actually rambleontoad.com. I'm so sorry, but we lost that domain name a couple of years ago.
So I have a
rambleontoad.com.
Okay. Well,
it's kind of more all-encompassing as well than just the art. I can ramble too.
Well, okay. So this is what's crazy, by the way, for people who want a little bit more backstory. I was in the process of becoming converted to a Deadhead Grateful Dead fan with my wife. And it turns out Toad is massive Deadhead as well. Ramble on Toad's obviously a reference to the Grateful Dead. So I love that.
Yeah. Lots of connections here. Let's make some more.
Yeah, totally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the real-time clock up and let us, here we go. So we are on July 4th. You're the guest of the holiday. And I'm going to flash this forward to the sign of Aries on the Ascendant. And what I want to do is speed this up to Monday. Actually, I'll just do it Tuesday just so we can get Uranus into the next sign. Monday, July 7th, Uranus enters Gemini. Now, we're going to have a little bit of a retrograde of Uranus back into Taurus, but this is the beginning of essentially 7 years worth of Uranus into a new sign. Now, that ingress is a very powerful time to be exploring our horoscopes. We've done so on this channel from a variety of perspectives. I wanted to bring Toad on because I think she has a unique perspective from a different but parallel divinatory tradition in the tarot. And I just really like the way she pulls cards. I highly recommend following her daily, weekly pulls on Instagram, where she shares her thoughts and insights. And I will also say, you have an incredible way of digging up relevant Simpson episode clips and tying them into your readings that I just love. It's like, it totally tickles me every time.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a huge part. I get a lot of information from the cards. I get a lot of information from astrology. And then I have this thing that I call cartoon mancy, where I get a lot of my information just from cartoons. And I relate it to being it's like the modern myths, the modern storytelling, the modern way that we can, like the fairy tales and everything. There's a lot of archetypal information in cartoons. So
yeah, totally true. And I would say that like there's also this weird way in which sometimes The Simpsons has been sort of prophetic. I know that's like people to talk about that before, but that show is like such a part of the zeitgeist that it can't help but be an oracle at times, it would seem.
I like to say that I'm Lisa Simpson. There's a lot of weird similarities between my family and The Simpsons. It was created the year that I was born. It'll probably keep going until I die. I don't know, but there's definitely something there.
I love that. Well, we're going to dive into these horoscopes. We have already said a lot on the channel about the archetypal meaning of Uranus and Gemini. So rather than rehash what does Uranus and Gemini mean, because we've done that a bunch, we're just going to dive right into horoscopes. And what Toad is going to do is pull some cards for each sign. I'm going to give you the prompt, and Toad's just going to work her magic. I'm basically just facilitating. I hope that you will enjoy these. In my opinion, when it comes to these kinds of readings, like there may be an element or two out of several that Toad mentions, or a card or two out of several. I've noticed that when Toad reads on Instagram, there might be one or two aspects of what she says that really apply to me, where something else applies to Ashley. So, have your radar up when your sign is on. That's my advice. The other thing that I'll say here before we go is you can listen to this for your sun, your rising. It doesn't matter. You use the same sign listening on your end to whatever you're listening for, your sun sign. If you want to listen to your moon sign, you can do that. I recommend rising because it'll correspond with the transit location in your whole sign house birth chart, but it's up to you guys. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to isolate just Uranus here so that we have kind of a simplified view in front of us. We're going to be looking at Uranus moving into new houses. So we start with Aries, which places Uranus into the third house in Gemini. And now I'm just going to let Toad do her thing, and I'm going to stop the screen so she can show the cards as well.
Thank you. All right. Aries rising. Let's get into it. Yeah, so Uranus moving into the third house. Now, I like to look at the third house as being, I like to boil everything down into essential meanings, and I like the third house being like the left brain, if I can boil down to that. And Gemini is so much about the mind. Now, I don't necessarily like to associate Gemini always with the third house, but, ooh, we got the the 8 of Cups. Eight of Cups coming out now in the Rider-Waite tradition. This looks like going into the dark. All right. This is interesting considering this is a place of rationality, right? This is a place of hard lines, of possibly clear thinking, or maybe not so clear thinking, right? So let's see. With Gemini being a masculine sign, being an air sign, I feel like we need to soften and allow for things to be not one way or the other, right? In Gemini, it's very dualistic. It's very, very black or white, this or that, right? I'm seeing that in this way, we want to expand our thinking. It doesn't have to be one way. It doesn't have to be another. It doesn't have to end up like this. It doesn't have to end up like that. You know, a lot of people, they get stuck in this being like, okay, I want to be this, but I can't because of that. I want to do this, but I can't because of that. How about a third special way? How about we set off into the dark and say something really good could be for us, because we could limit ourselves in that way. Uranus, you know, it's going to bring so much innovation, so much aha moments, you know, that we're not even going to be able to keep up. Things are going to be moving fast. So you don't want to limit yourself, right? Keep walking through the dark and keep expecting the best. That's what I got for Aries rising.
Love it. Love it. That's a great one for Uranus into the third, which I think, like you said, like it's a new way of thinking. And so, yeah, like embrace that. Let's go on to, we're now going to go into Taurus rising. And Taurus rising places Uranus into Gemini in the second house. Let's see what Toad has for us here.
Okay. So innovations, ideas for what we have of value, what we have to offer, what our possessions are, what we keep, right? Okay, we got 6 of Swords and the 8 of Swords. All right, Swords, again, it has to do with the mind, right? It's very much how we think, okay? We're moving into calmer waters here. Oh, in between those cards, we also have the Knight of Cups. All right, so this can be about transition. This can be about letting something go. And it's also more about going towards what fulfills us on a spiritual and an emotional level. So where we might have been, again, limiting ourselves with Gemini, with it could only be this way or that, with very rational thinking. You know, maybe we're moving into a more of a watery state here. Maybe we're allowing ourselves to feel more like that Venusian, right? Let yourself be the Taurus that you want to be. 8 of Swords as well. You know, we're coming out of any kind of limiting belief here. We're coming out of any kind of trap. And again, 8 is kind of like going into the dark, right? So we need to be going towards what fills our cup. We need to be going towards what keeps us dreaming. All right. This is the dreamer card, is what I like to say with the Knight of Cups. The cups is the water element. It has to do with our emotions, our spiritual fulfillment. And I feel like we're taking steps towards that in the area of our livelihood, in the area of what we see in ourselves as value. Okay. So maybe we need to be valuing our own spiritual and emotional fulfillment more.
I love that. Yeah. I feel like I was recently talking about how the air element is so fluidly connected to the water element in ancient elemental theory, because air turned into water and rained down to the earth. And so I love the idea that you were kind of bringing up there of new ideas, new ways of thinking, that even if you're looking at air, they're providing us with new resources or new values that could be more about emotional integration as well. I love that.
Exactly.
It's an original way of thinking about it. I really like that.
Cool.
Let me move us to. Okay,
it's exciting.
I know. Let's go to. We're on Gemini rising now, which for all of you Gemini risings out there, this is exciting because it's your first house, very personal place. And Uranus in this house, I just went through 7 years of Uranus in my first house. Very transformative on a personal level. Toad, what do you think about this one?
Oh man, yeah, I'm excited for talk about excitement, right? Having Uranus in Gemini in your first house, it's just woo, so much newness in your life, you know. And again, we're gonna have to be grounded. What do we got? We have the 7 of Wands. Yeah, we need to be grounded, and this is talking more about our beliefs. All right. With the wands is it's creativity, it's sexuality, it's passion. I like to say that the wands is what gets us out of bed in the morning. It's what lights a fire under our butt. It's what inspires us. It's what makes us happy, right? In an inspired way. The cups also do that as well. But seven relates back to the Chariot in the major arcana. It also relates to the star. Okay, 7 and 17. This is when we need to basically have faith, because we're moving into that 8, like I was saying before. The 8 is very much like going into the dark. That's like the moon card, right? And so at the 7 of Wands, we often have to stand up for what we believe in. Okay, we need to stick to our morals and our boundaries. Let me get one more card here. It can be about defense. Let me see. Okay, so with Geminis in general, and this is going to be for everyone, that we're going to feel a lot of coming together with people, a lot of innovations when it comes to our community, progress or lack of progress when it comes to our friends, our communication, things like that. And I am getting the 3 of Pentacles, which is the card of community building, of growth, of coming together with people, of sharing. And so there could be some conflict here, but I want you to, instead of being like a people pleaser, right? Instead of giving in to that air, right? We want to be sticking up for what we really believe. There might be big changes that come in all of your areas of life, because that's you, right? It's the first house, but also in the area of your friendships, of your relationships, of how you communicate with people, right? How you build with people. Our alliances might be changing, right? So as that happens, you don't want to give in and kind of fall back into old ways, or not stand up for things that are in line with your morals and values, is kind of what I'm seeing there with that. Yeah, I see strength on the bottom of the deck too. Sorry. Yep. Nope, hold out is what I'm getting.
Yeah, I love that. Oh wait, where are we? Here we go. That's really interesting, because I feel like for air signs rising, the Uranus into Gemini feels like it has to be a part of changing some of the social fabric of your life. Air signs, I think a lot of who we are and how we relate comes through the people that we're connected with on the level of air. So I love that, Uranus in the first house and Gemini kind of signaling social and personal changes that can be very meaningful, but are sort of rest on your ability to follow the beat of your own drum.
Right. First house, right? And I always say the first house can't be separated from the 7th house. So, what changes, what in our own personality changes who we're around, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's go on to Cancer rising.
Okay, Cancer.
Yeah, you got it in the 12th. So Uranus going into your 12th house. A place that's often a bit of a blind spot, or can be about unconscious material, or sort of connection to other worlds. Really, I think it's a very mysterious and beautiful, deep house. So I'm curious to hear what you're going to come up with here.
I do love the 12th house. It can be such a challenging place. I often do see a lot in my readings that it's a challenging place when Mercury is placed there, or when you have a Mercury ruled sign that rules your 12th house. It can be a lot in the mind, right? I really think a lot of what this is going to be about for Gemini risings is going to be about realizing how we think, that the blind spots in our anxiety, our overthinking really come out. So let me get a card. Here we go. Oh, we have the Page of Pentacles. Yeah, we're grounding out. It's so important. I also see the 8 of Wands, because we've been moving too fast in the mind. This is extra communication. This is overthinking. This is swiftness. It's just go, go, bing, 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 bing. Sorry. It's just go, 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 right? But now we're actually looking. When I see the Page of Pentacles, this is really about when we take stock of the gift of our body, of the gift of the earth. It's like, no, we don't need to go so fast. We don't need to go so fast. We don't need to think so fast. We don't need to take on so much. We need to be bringing it back to what's essential. Okay, let me get one more for the Cancer risings. We're really going to see how our thoughts are keeping us in the dark or keeping us stuck or contributing to our self-undoing, right? With that 12th house. Is there anything else? Bottom of the deck, Two of Swords. Yeah, Two of Swords, I really relate to an imbalanced Gemini energy. It's that black and white thinking, like I said, that makes it almost like we're stuck. It makes a wall. I think about energy moving between two places, 2 points, and it can go so fast that it becomes a wall. That's how all energy works, right? And so we're blocking out anything good in our life if we just think too fast, too fast, too fast. No, we're grounding and we're coming back to what's essential.
I love that. Yeah. The thing that comes to my mind with the Gemini 12th house for like Cancers is kind of just such a juxtaposition between the water sign rising and the air sign in the 12th is, you know, there's such a connection between our mind and our emotions. And I think, you know, Cancers can run through their emotions, but not be aware sometimes of the level at which the thoughts are contributing to or like steering them.
Absolutely.
I was thinking about that a lot when you were just talking about that horoscope.
I cut to the Cancer card. I just had to say it. I just cut
there you go.
You know, yeah. And then with Jupiter moving out of the 12th and into the 1st for them as well. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, totally. The King of Cups, is that the Cancer card?
The Queen of Cups.
Oh, Queen of Cups. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So, of course, I'm thinking through the lens of a male with a sun in Cancer. So.
Right. Yeah, but, it's fluid.
Here's the Leo rising horoscope, which takes Uranus and Gemini into your 11th house, place of community, friends, groups, also a house that was associated with long-term aspirations, dreams, wishes, but such a public sphere up there in the 11th as well. So I was curious to hear what Toad's going to have for us here.
I had a card flip out before we even really started talking about it, but I am feeling that it's important. I'm seeing the 9 and the 10 of Wands coming out for them. And again, it's reminding me of the way that Gemini can take on too much. We can take on too much with that energy in any area of your life, where whatever you're ruled by here. But with the 9 of Wands, it's the wounded warrior card. A lot of the times with the Rider-Waite tradition, it's always the end of a cycle, right? We're getting ready to end a cycle with the 10, drop the 0, and come back to the 1 again. We've been taking on too much when it comes to it could be our family, it can be our friends, it's the groups, the greater good of everyone else besides ourselves, right? I think that it's going to be important for Leo risings to really, I always say, follow the fire, come back to the Ace of Wands. What is important for you? Come back to the 5th house. All right. What makes you happy? Because you've been giving too much and it's wearing you the heck out. Hold on. 3 of Wands. More Wands. Keep your perspective open. It's going to create a better balance for you if you take more time to do things for yourself. You're always going to want to shine and show love for everyone in your community and your family and all around you. But if you do that too much, you're going to drop all the wands. Come back to what's essential.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like the sorting through, like, what are my dreams and ambitions and how are they flavored by other people and social dimensions of life. I really like that you suggested making sure you kind of counterbalance with that 5th house. Like, well, what's creatively valuable to me? Because there might be a lot of options and a lot of irons in the fire, and some level of like discernment of like who and what you align yourself with creatively and socially. That's a really good read, I think, of Uranus in the 11th for the Leos.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to go to the screen again here. Let's advance this for Virgos. You got it in your 10th house. That's the career house, a place of your public reputation and notoriety, vocation, even people in retirement. But still, how do you interact with the world outside of the private sphere of like the public or social sphere? There's still a lot there for us, even in retirement. So that 10th house is really interesting to me for Virgos right now. What do you think, Toad?
I'm excited. I'm a Virgo rising. Let's get some unexpected happenings in our career life. Now, I always say with the 10th house doesn't have to be about career unless you're going to be remembered by your career. Not everyone is going to be remembered by their career, you know? So but it's always about how you're going to be remembered, how people are going to see you. All right. So we might be feeling a little eccentric. We have the Page of Swords flipping out. That makes sense. You know, again, Two of Swords and the Page of Swords. These are my imbalanced Gemini cards, right? So it's a younger energy when it comes to the mind, right? The swords has to do with the mind. It's the air element, right? And yeah, it can represent children and things like that as well. But it's more of like an immature way that we can think, right? A lot of back and forth, a lot of it kind of not so tactful. And again, this is your public sphere that we're talking about here with the 10th house. It's how people are going to remember you and how people are going to know you. All right. So just be aware of how you're coming off. If you're a little out there, let me get one more. Ooh, we have the Hierophant, the King of Pentacles, and the 10 of Cups. I'm liking that, guys. Stay committed to what you really want. You know, this is also, it's higher learning. Okay. It's kind of, I would put it naturally into the 9th house, really, because it has to do with like higher education, with God, with learning, with kind of moving up into the world with traditional. So where things you might be wanting to go a little out there, where you might be doing things a little differently, a little eccentrically, a little electric, right? Maybe we should keep it a little traditional as well. Keep your feet on the ground with the Hierophant and the King of Pentacles. I think as well as this, yeah, keep your feet on the ground, but be yourself. It's gonna bring in some money. I like that. And it's gonna bring in emotional fulfillment. Okay, but you have to stay grounded. I need one more for that. It's a little out there. Anything else? 6 of Wands. Success.
Yeah.
Be secure in yourself. Be secure in yourself, you know, but keep moving forward in faith that you can be yourself.
I love that. It's like there's this message of, I think Uranus in the 10th, I've seen it in client practice over the years, is often about originality and inventiveness in the career. But you do have to balance that with receiving the go-ahead from people who maybe are like higher up, like, here's my innovative idea, but okay, you're going to have to do 80% of that to fit in with our marketing vision. Or it's like there's a little bit of, like, you have to be a little flexible with authority figures or something.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, like I feel like that's like such a Uranus in the 10th kind of thing, but also like I think there's a lot of potential for prosperity, because that's going to trine the 2nd house. You're going to have transits roll through the 2nd, trining Uranus in the 10th. And even the Pluto in the 6th, like hard work pays off with the trines to Pluto. So I think it's a very auspicious reading for Virgos that having that career. It's like, I like what you said, though, like a little bit of groundedness.
Yeah. I think that's going to be important for everyone. I do think that after having completed Jupiter being in Gemini for everyone, that we've learned a lot of lessons about overextending and over Gemini, and that we're going to have the risk of that again in whatever area this is showing up in. So I think it's always a good idea to keep that grounded, but also to kind of, you know, allow it.
Yeah. Well, our next horoscope is Libra. This is Uranus in the 9th house, place of higher learning, sometimes foreign countries, long journeys, but also just that pursuit of higher wisdom, teachers, spirituality, even astrology, traditionally located in that 9th house. What do you think, Toad?
Yeah, I mean, I finished up having Uranus go through my 9th, and it definitely brought a lot of really beautiful insights, a lot of connection, lightning bolts to the head, right? Tower moments. I definitely associate it with the tower moment, either in the 10th or the 9th, because it's right up there, right? We're getting all the insights, all the downloads. Ace of Swords, insights, downloads, aha moments, you know, clarity. Ooh, let me get one more for these Libra risings. Yeah.
A lot of learning with that one, right?
A lot of learning. Yeah, a lot of learning. Absolutely. I mean, that was pretty much right when I got deeper into my astrological studies. Really, I had been studying the tarot for a long time, and that was like, okay, now's the time that I really need to start getting serious about astrology.
Yeah.
And what do you know?
outer planets through the ninth. I mean, when Pluto entered my ninth, that's when I got into astrology. I feel like the outer planets in the ninth just light up the learning process.
They really do. I'm having the I'm seeing the Four of Wands and the Four of Pentacles come out. I see most of these readings, they all kind of balance this excitement, this, the new ideas and innovation with grounding, with needing to ground. So it's like, okay, here's what it's going to feel like, but don't forget to keep your feet on the ground. We have the two kind of opposite ends of the spectrum here with the fire element, which is the first element in the tarot, and the earth element here. Now, one thing that I'm hearing is you might feel like you're stuck in your old beliefs. I almost feel like people are going to break out of limiting beliefs they have about the overall world, about their philosophies on life, on, religion or spirituality or astrology. There's going to be a lot of insight here. And I think it's really going to shake up where we've been a little bit too stuck. Because I relate the Four of Pentacles it's kind of like a Taurus card to me, because 4 is that stable number. It's a grounded number, right? So it's kind of like the fixed earth. It's double earth here. And then with the wands, this is about creating a foundation that's more on passion, on purpose. It almost feels like these new ideas are going to like set ablaze. I said something about the tower. I didn't get the tower, but now I'm talking about the tower. It's going to set ablaze to your old ways, your old foundations, This, of course, is leading into all the other astrological stuff that we going on with the outer planets. But just like allow for something new that instead of feeling so stuck in what you're building spiritually, philosophically, how about we make it a little bit more joyous?
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of the learning of an outer planet in the ninth, naturally leading into the 10th, is setting a kind of foundation. It's like these are new skills, these are new understandings, and they will gradually, 7 years, but they are gradually going to look into the 10th house, right?
Yeah. It goes by like that, if you ask me. It was just like yesterday that frickin' Uranus entered my ninth. So
yeah, totally.
Here we are.
Here's Scorpio. For Scorpio rising, you can listen to the sun sign, whatever you prefer. Uranus is moving into your 8th house, a place that I like to talk about as a place of karmic contracts, soul contracts with other people, the give and take of those relationships, the debts and obligations that come from those relationships, liberating ourselves from various contracts and unhealthy forms of dependency, but also the give and take that can be, I think at times in the 8th, it's like sort of, we don't talk enough about how there can be mutually beneficial soul contracts in the 8th as well. So anyway,
right.
That's the Scorpios. You got it for the 8th house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. You've been really opening my eyes to more about how it's soul contracts there, and a little bit less physical. It can be a little bit less physical. It can be very physical in the 8th house as well. Yeah. But that's such a good point that it's all of what we share, it's so there's our personal resources and the shared resources with the 8th house, second to the 8th, but it can be very, very positive. These soul contracts, the karma that we experience. I don't like to look at karma as just a bad thing. It's just everything that we see. So what do we need to say about this? Scorpio risings. Scorpio's staying quiet. They're staying under the surface. Come on. All right. I'll cut the deck. Fine. We'll dig in. Oh, I got the devil. Okay. That's why we're hiding.
That's a good card for the 8th house.
And I got death.
Oh my God.
Now again, we don't like to associate death too much with the 8th house. I like to see it more as like, okay, if you're getting an inheritance, like if there's, deaths on the outside, but this is transformation. And a lot of people do associate the death card with Scorpio because of the time of year, because of this reaping quality, right? But these are like the two scariest cards, Right. Scorpios should be comfortable with this. It's okay. We're really looking at our chains, our addictions, what keeps us stuck. So we are going to talk about kind of the negative karmic debts that we have here, but it should be coming really clear, and we should be reaping that out of our garden. right? This is really letting go of those things. So we're completing these major arcana cards, Scorpios. This is going to be big for you. We are completing major karmic cycles here. Yeah. Holy moly. Anything else I can say for Scorps? Or you're just going to be quiet. Ooh. Yeah, just take your time with that. It's the Knight of Pentacles coming out here, slow and steady wins the race. You might feel like you need a serious elimination, but one step after the other. Strength, right?
Oh, nice. That's a good card for paired with those. When I think about Uranus going into the 8th, and I've seen that obviously for a lot of folks when Uranus was going through Taurus in the 8th, my Libra rising folks out there had that for a while. And I'll say one of my first examples of it was a family member who almost as soon as Uranus went into Taurus, they went through a divorce. And that was in their 8th house, right?
Yep.
Their part of the reason for the divorce was a spouse who was dealing with alcoholism. You couldn't let go of the drinking, so it's like the things that we separate ourselves from when Uranus comes and disturbs the soul contracts in the 8th with cards like the Devil and what was the other one? Devil and
death and strength, our animal instincts, kind of taming the beast there as well.
These are attachments that it's time to let go of, and that's a good thing. And if you can dig deep and work through the relinquishment of those unhealthy attachments, there's going to be real liberation on the other side.
Absolutely. I know that feels really heavy. I often say that the Devil, the Tower, Death, these are the best cards in the deck. It's the ones that most people are afraid to go after, but the biggest transformation is on the other side of that. So
yeah, totally. I look at the reason that I'm an astrologer today is because I had to face addiction in my early 20s, and I worked with ayahuasca, and that changed my life. I think that the cards like those on the surface may seem ominous, but it's another thing to remember is that it's not every single day for the whole 7 years that Uranus is in that sign. There might be a few events, and the rest of that process may be quite liberating outside of maybe a few things you're dealing with, and they don't necessarily have to be major, but major looks different for each person. If you tend to be in cycles of debt on your credit card, liberating yourself from an unhealthy cycle like that is totally perfect for those scenarios. It doesn't have to be like, it can be something simple.
Exactly. And it's still the same energy, it's still death energy to release that.
Right. Well, we've got Sag risings next. You've got Uranus coming into the 7th house, place of relationship, love, intimacy, interpersonal connections. So that's a powerful place, an angular house for Uranus.
Yeah. I immediately had the 7 of Wands flip out again. We had the 7 of Wands earlier, but this is really a Sag card to me, because I talk about standing up for your beliefs. Sag can be a little idealistic in good ways and sometimes not so good ways, but I am really feeling with this going into the 7th, a big part of my message and a big part of the message that I've discovered with the tarot is to not settle for less than what feels really good for you, what aligns with your morals and your values, with your hard yeses and your hard nos, what you can and cannot compromise on. I have this whole system called the Toad Code, which has to do with making choices based on our elements. Another 7. I got the 7 of Cups here. There's going to be lots of options. There's going to be lots of unexpected things when it comes to love, whether or not you're in a relationship or not. So this is about kind of going back to the ground and being like, okay, well, what is really important for me? All right. It's not just Uranus. There's lots of things going on that's going to make it so that we don't see very, very clearly right now. 7 of Cups can often be like a Neptune card to me, about kind of delusion and confusion, sometimes fogginess, but it's also about what do you want? What do you want? Hold out for that. I got the High Priestess on the bottom there too. It's like we might not be able to see everything, and I think with Sages, they often okay, I see what I'm aiming at, all right, and I know, and I'm gonna go for that. This is gonna be more like, okay, well, I'm feeling something, and I might not be able to see very, very clearly, right? I might not be able to see the final result, but I'm gonna hold out for what energetically I know feels right to me.
Love that. Yeah, there's kind of like a dare to open your mind to something totally different that at first may not seem rational, or like, I love that, because
Yeah.
Uranus is in an air sign, but Uranus itself is so magical and tricksterish in the way that it tries to prod us to consider new things.
Right. And it's very much, these, it could come in through a person, like maybe the people around you, maybe they inspire new ideas that really, they really wake you up to new things,
Right.
and push your limits in that way. That's exciting.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention too the relationships, that like Uranus can bring that revolutionary and emancipatory energy into relationships, which is really like, it's a stress test. Is this relationship accommodating enough of me, my freedom? Am I right for them? Are they right for me? I think Uranus can really bring freedom in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just with the mental quality of Gemini, it's really getting us to examine and kind of see the balance between our beliefs, our overall what we want, and our morals and values, and how that's lining up. So
Well, for Capricorns, we have Uranus going into the 6th house in Gemini. I think it's interesting to note that there is a forming trine to the 2nd house, which I think is probably a little bit lighter than just the Uranus transit to the 6th, since it's a difficult house. I feel like I need to like insert that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Okay, here, let me switch back to you.
I mean, I immediately, the two cards that immediately popped out when we started talking about them was the Empress and the Queen of Pentacles, which is also kind of like an Empress vibe in a way. If we look at it in order, which I always look at the cards in order, I do this a little bit differently, follow along. But we've had been through all of the elements with all the different queens, all the different rulers. This does not have to be about masculine or feminine. It's the kings of each suit rule with their action and in their element, and then the queens are more receptive, right? And so the Empress is the ultimate receptive element here. And where Capricorns might want to do, get better. I feel like if this has anything to do with health or work, like working too hard or anything, it's almost feeling like we need to relax a little bit. We need to kind of sit back and allow the earth to do its natural thing here. Let me get one more here, because it can be difficult, right? This can have to do with our health, right? Really taking stock of how there can be unexpected illnesses or injuries if we don't ground out, if we don't relax, right? If we're working too hard, if we're pushing ourselves too hard, Is there anything else that needs to come out? The Fool. Interesting. Okay. Yep. So with the Capricorns, we might want to see where we're headed to. What ladder are we climbing? What staircase are we going up to, right? But again, with this uncertainty that we're feeling, we have to know that we're on the right path, that we're doing the right thing, and that if we relax a little bit, if we're not just constantly working towards what we want, towards getting better, our health, our finances or whatever, that we're actually still going to be okay. This is a very innocent kind of energy. It almost feels like we're taking out the things that are causing us to spin out too much, that are causing us to move too quickly. We're coming back to actually building towards grounding is a lot better.
It makes me think about those times in my life when I'm not a Capricorn rising, but I have a Capricorn moon, and those times where I have learned technologies, paradigms, systems that have been satisfying intellectually, but have been really important for grounding, like yoga, or like my workout routines, or meditation techniques, or even entheogens in certain contexts that are healing. Like, what are the sacred practices, systems, knowledge, technology that can take some of the burden off from the physical frame of the Capricorn. That's kind of what I was thinking as you were talking.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Yeah, and the Queen of Pentacles is a Capricorn card in a lot of ways, but I'm also kind of seeing that we're leaping into a new way, with the Fool, and a new routine that might be very different from what we're used to, but it's gonna have a lot more grounding qualities to it. It's gonna have a lot more peace, and implementing these different things, like maybe meditation, maybe walking barefoot in the grass, maybe going into nature a little bit more. These sorts of things could be really beneficial.
Do you think that there could be any way also for Capricorn, since that Uranus is connecting from 6 to 2, where some of these things we're thinking about are used as for business, like an agricultural business or an herb shop, or these kinds of images were kind of coming to my mind too.
Absolutely, with all the Earth stuff going on with the Empress and the Queen of Pentacles, it's very much just like watch what grows, sit back, I like it.
Okay, so we got Aquarius rising, which places Uranus into Gemini in the 5th house.
All right. 5th house. So much fun. I love the 5th. All right, let's see. So what do you like to do with your time? Well, we have the Emperor and the Hanged Man.
I have to say, I love how the cards have such a personality in your hands. They like jump around. They're so like active and playful.
They really are. They know when they want to come out. The decks have so much. It's really strange too. It doesn't matter what deck I use. It's the same cards every time. We have the Hanged Man and the Emperor. I'm also seeing the Tower. This is interesting. Oh, we've been working too hard. For Uranus going into the 5th house, it's like it's time to actually have some fun. We've been holding off and waiting for when we get to actually enjoy, instead of, it's like, oh, I've been not allowing enough joy into my life. Maybe that has something to do with it. We've been working too hard with the Emperor, right? We get the Emperor with the last one we got the Empress. That's more of this enjoyment quality. The Emperor has more of this hard working quality. Let me see if I can clarify that. We have the Page of Pentacles again and the 7 of Cups. Yeah. I when I see the Page of Pentacles, he's one of my favorites, because it's really when the pages are holding the aces, they're holding the potential of the suit. And really the ultimate potential of the suit of Earth is the fact that we have a body. We get to come here to be and to enjoy and to feel and to do all this. It's not just hard work all the time, right? This is us coming. We might not know exactly what we want. We might have lots of options about what we like to do, but it's almost like we're discovering what really gives us personal joy.
Yeah. I love that. I also, when I was thinking about those cards in the 5th, I was thinking about Uranus in the 5th being like, it's time to stop listening to like the super ego that tells me what I can and can't do. And it's time to be like a merry prankster creative and like kind of let myself go.
Yeah, I love it. Yes, exactly. We don't need to be all Emperor all the time, right?
Yeah.
Come out of hiding. Come out of hiding. You're allowed to go out and have fun. That's what I'm feeling.
Let's go to our final sign, which is Pisces. This brings Uranus into Gemini in the 4th house, place of home, family, roots, kind of the private or internal sphere. Let's see what we got there.
Okay. Pisces. Uranus in the 4th house, a place that we want to feel pretty grounded, having earthquakes. Figurative. But what I always say about this Uranus energy, which is very much like the Tower energy, I always say people are so scared of the Tower, but it is the best card in the deck. It washes away everything that was built on faulty foundations, right? We've been building in areas that are not meant for us, and it allows for more room, right? I keep getting this 3 of Pentacles, and that's because, sorry again about my meter there. This is about our communities, right? Let's see. Seven of Swords, me get one more here. King of Pentacles. I do think that this might have something to do with planning around building, planning around making a more stable home. You know, oftentimes with the Three of Pentacles, this can be about doing something with others that you can't normally do on your own, right? So it could be building a house, coming together. Maybe you're investing in something stable and something grounding. It could have to do, I do really feel like getting, sorry, this one's a little, the Seven of Swords, that has more of this kind of Uranian quality of like, oh, it's the highest active number is 7, right? And it can be about planning. It can be about strategizing. And it really feels like it's something bigger than where it's just been about maybe you and your immediate family or your home. Maybe you're bringing in other people. Maybe you're wanting to live more communally. Three of Cups. That's celebration. It's joy. It's coming together with other people. And okay, that I thought maybe it was for the last reading with the Hermit coming out reverse, but it could be for this as well. That we might have, for some of you, it might have been feeling more like we're going to stay at home. It might be time to come out of the home. It might be time. Let me get one more. Is there anything else I can say for the Pisces risings? Six of Pentacles. Temperance. Yeah. So yeah, we do need to come out of hiding and have a little bit more joy and celebration. So we can create something bigger in our life, right? But we have to just watch the exchange. All right. Are we getting what we're putting in? Maybe that's part of what's coming clear, is that if we don't allow other people in, we might not be able to grow, right? There needs to be a healthy give and take exchange here.
I love that. Yeah, it feels like the Uranus and Gemini in the 4th, it does feel like almost like a non-traditional element of some kind entering the family.
Yeah.
And also like opening ourselves on a more private internal level to new people or influences or social dynamics, like air in the 4th house.
Yeah.
That's what came to my mind.
This has a lot to do. It just came to me that there's a lot of this energy of this tower energy of breaking down the old and then rebuilding again after all of this has gone through. And so I am also hearing something about like healing the past with your family where you've been, and then kind of creating your own family as well. So it's a 7-year process. A lot can happen in 7 years, but that's
revolution
exciting.
Revolution at the roots.
Right.
That's a good way of thinking about it. I want to thank you so much, Toad, for being here today and taking
it's so much fun.
Yeah, no, this is great. I think it's a great way to approach horoscopes at the end of the week on a holiday here. I want to tell people how they can get in touch with you. Instagram, it is art.by.toad, art by Toad.
Yes.
I would recommend following. You do.
Please do.
Daily, weekly messages through tarot. I love the way you pull, very intuitive, very fluid. Can you tell us your sun, moon, rising?
Oh yeah, I'm a Virgo rising, I'm a Leo sun, and I am a Libra moon. So
love it. Super creative. Rambleontoad.com is the website. I think people can see some of the artwork there. Is that right?
You can see art there. Yep. You can also look at my Instagram even if you don't have an account. It's pretty curated there. Please take a look. I do sell prints. I offer private readings. I do have a Patreon. I'm working on writing a book called The Toad Code, which is the cheat book to the game of life. I got my nickname from Mario, actually, from years and years and years ago. And so I'm using the video game as kind of like an analogy on how to use this as kind of like a spiritual path. So I'm writing a book. I got a big art show coming up. If you guys want to support, check out my readings. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Patreon.com/artbytoad. You can find that on her Instagram bio as well.
Yes.
It's a joy to check out your tarot work regularly. Both Ashley and I do. And it's really nice to have you on here and get just a fresh, different take on these horoscopes that we've been spending a lot of time with, because obviously it's a huge transit this year. So yeah, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Love seeing you guys. And yeah, I'll see you again soon.
Let's do it again soon. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you guys again next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.